Okay, now we're going to finalize the device. That's step one before we can move on to adding the interactivity, correct? You want to keep in mind, you have to use your critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, right? That allows us to focus on possible solutions. Remember, we are graphic designers. Graphic designers solve problems. And as we've been talking about today, that employers, even clients, judge you on your design skills, your critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, right? Attention to detail skills, things that they can see in your project. So we just got through talking about attention to detail. So paying close attention to the details definitely matters. The beauty is in the details. All right, so let's go back into the project here. And let's just look at this. I'm going to close this or collapse this panel. A couple things that I want to go over is the first thing we should do if we're planning for our activity, would it be important to have your artboards in correct order? Yes, because if not, it's going to be confusing for you. We do know how easy it is to reorder the artboard. So you can see right here, here's the logical progression from here, from this page would be to go to our services, about us, and contact. So I've got our services down here. I don't want that. I need to move that. So we know we can just click on the name of the artboard and move it. We can drag this one over here. The smart guides align that, and then we can just pop that up to there. So now we're in the correct order. It's very important that you do this, and it takes minimal time, but it's going to save you confusion when you're starting to add the interactivity. We have the phone. The next page for the phone would be going to the home page. And then it was the services page. What does that red magenta band of color indicate? That's the spacing. You can see the number right above it says 112. That means that they are identically spaced. So now everything is in the precise order, and then my iPad, home, and then it goes to that newsletter. Okay, so we've got everything in order. It also helps, I like to label mine or name mine, so it kind of helps me to identify which board is which one. So I'll know how to rename your artboards correct. I'm not going to go over that. So the interface, which is each artboard for each device, we have to plan for the interactivity, correct? We also have to finalize the attention to detail. So things we need to look at, and then we've talked about this throughout the course, especially we started last week, is that we have to look at the principles of design. Remember, the principles of design are interconnected. You can't just have one and hope that the other ones are strengthened. Because they're interconnected, they're either going to strengthen each other or they're going to weaken each other. We have to think about the focal point. Boy, and we really have to look at that visual hierarchy and define the visual hierarchy. Attention to detail. What about a grid structure? Is that important? Our grid structure is going to help with alignment. So for example, let's just highlight this board and we come over here and we turn on the grid structure, you can see that if I just had this file here, you can see that it's off of alignment, correct? I can use my grid structure and change that image so I have the same spacing. It helps me have the same spacing here. So the grid structure is really important. I can just align my images to the grid structure. It snaps right to the grid structure, which is great. Remember, we're focusing on the user experience. So we look at principles of design. Attention to detail. This is going to be a great little exercise to kind of get your attention to detail skills revved up as you move forward. If we look at attention to detail, we all know that it's very easy to align elements, correct? We can just use our alignment panel up here. Notice how that was off. So we can make sure all the elements are aligned. What about our text? It's in a text frame, which is great, but which principle of design is this weakening? There's several that it's weakening. Which one would you say they are? The first one I see is proximity, right? This is a title that's introducing this text, so therefore it needs to be aligned, correct? It needs to be grouped with this image. So changing the square. So if I click on this, great question, Andrea. I turn on the grid, and here is the square size. You want to keep in mind that the squares have to be identical, meaning, let's just do this. You can't just put a random figure in there, because look what happened here. I have a full square here, but look where it's cut off here, which means it's going to probably throw my alignment off. So I can just make sure that I have the identical full square. I have all full squares. It's not cut off anywhere. Did that answer your question? Perfect. All right. So now, if we look at this text, it needs to be moved closer, correct? And it also needs to be aligned. I wouldn't want this to be a center alignment and then this would be a left alignment, because that would be off. Should I try it? If I was going for a center alignment, should I do something like this? Should I try and align it like this and make this center aligned? Should I align the frame versus the text within the frame? So even if I selected my text frame and I said, okay, I want to align center, is that center aligned? The frame is, but the text is not. So we need to use our alignment panel. So that's an attention to detail skill as well, or an attention to detail. So we can move this a little bit closer. That's proximity. If we go over to this page, we have some, we don't have our logo here, which is something that needs to be fixed. So we want to make sure our logo is correctly added, right? And we know we can do that. What about, let's look at some other elements here. So a lot of these, after week 2, you already have your images in here. You should have your logo, but again, logo can be repositioned. It can be changed, doing just what I did. We have to look at principles of design. So we have to look at alignment. We have some elements here. We have some alignment issues. We have some proximity issues. So proximity means we want this one moved closer, correct? Alignment, look at this. This image appears as if it's holding up this larger image, the picture, because it's sitting right on top of it. It's also weakening alignment. Alignment's weakening proximity. So this needs to be, this one also here needs to be aligned. So we can do that very easy. We can select both of these objects and then hit left alignment up here. We can do the same here. So what just happened? Why did this one shoot up to this one? I didn't want that. I can hit Command D. I want this one to align to this one, so I can align to the bottom if the frames are the same, and they should be if you used a repeat grid. Actually, everything would be in alignment, but I can highlight all of them and align them to the bottom there. I'm using my critical thinking skills to solve the problem at hand. And let's align this to this. Everything, we have alignment, correct? We have alignment, we have all the 4 principles of design are being applied. We have contrast. Where's the contrast at? Contrast is helping with this focal point. We have these large, large images. We have, look at the spacing, the same spacing. Negative space, it's a repetitive design element. We have some alignment issues here, don't you, would you say? Remember, alignment states that all elements must be visually connected to another element in the design. So the about us, it's off of alignment. It should be aligned with this. So we can move this down. We can move this over here. We'll just move that up there. We can move this one closer to strength and proximity. The contact us should be grouped with this information, so we can maybe move it up just a little bit closer. We've got some other issues here. These could be moved down to align with this, correct? I could just group all these and just kind of move them down a little bit more. This needs to be moved down here a little bit more to be grouped with this or be associated, connected with that. Attention to detail. If we look at the contact us page, we've got some a lot of all the principles of design are really not correctly applied. We've got some proximity issues down here because this is sitting at the bottom of the screen. This needs to be moved over here, correct? These all need to be aligned, so I could highlight them all and align them to the left. Look how fast this goes. If I get the correct one there. We could move these all down a little bit. Well, quite a bit, really. This information could all be moved down to make room or accommodate this. We want to move this up a little bit more. This could be moved up into here. See how everything's starting to come together? If we look at the phone, attention to detail, there are some inconsistencies throughout here. So if I have the phone, this is a different square size than the tablet, because a tablet we had defined as 30. If I hit 30 here, it's not the same, correct? You can see we have a half of a square here. But now we have, here's our negative space. So I want that everywhere, right? This one is off, so we need to adjust that. That's repetition. This one, we could do one of two things. I could say, well, I can delete that. I can copy this one, highlight that, and paste it into place. There we go. So now that same negative space on this entire device. We have some alignment issues here. Notice how I'm using this right here is everything aligned. So therefore I need to make, actually, let's highlight this and align this so I can align that to the center. I can align it vertically and horizontally. I could group it. I can move this up. There we go. And we can do the same with this one. Well, select both those, make sure they're precisely aligned. I like to group things and then I can move them into position. Proximity now, these circles right here, do they belong with adopt a friend or do they belong with the cats and the dogs only? Well, right now it's grouped in close proximity to this information. So we're weakening proximity. Well, we now want to move these down. This could be moved closer to that, or actually it should be right there. This could be moved over here as well. Or has alignment been broken? Alignment's off there. So let's align those. I can look at that and see the alignment. So there we go. We have some other issues here, correct? Can you see these sitting so close to the frame? So maybe I need to move this down a little bit more. These all need to be aligned together. I could do that very easy by selecting them all and aligning them to the top of that one image. There we go. attention to detail. We've got the tools in XD to help us with attention to detail. Their attention to detail here says, hey, I really have 4 services, but I'm only showing 3. I need to fix that. Should this one, if I do that, should this be larger than this one? No, they should all be the same, correct? So we need to make sure that they're all the same. And we could, you know, again, the number of ways to solve this problem to keep them all the same would be a repeat grid, but that needs to be fixed. The newsletter. Okay, so let's zoom in on the newsletter here. The newsletter as well has a defined grid. You can see this is a different square size. But we have, you know, let's just move this up here a little bit. Look at my spacing, 2 and 2, so I want to keep them the same. I want this one to be aligned with this one up here. And we'll just move that over there. I can just copy this one, highlight that. Again, if that's your, you know, logo, you make the corrections on one and then copy it to the other one. We have a title, we have some text right here. This text is not aligned correctly. I have a center alignment, but if I look at this, it's left alignment. Well, that's an easy fix. We just change the alignment. This could be moved a little bit closer to that image right there. Newsletter, okay. This doesn't really accommodate my newsletter icon, correct? So I need to make adjustments for that. I would have to make sure that newsletter icon is, you know, this would be the actual newsletter icon and it would be centered in here. Learn more. Okay, so then we have our article. So we want to establish the contrast or the focal point by strengthening the contrast. This right here should be the same size, correct? So these are off sizes. So we need to make adjustments for that as well. I could very easily do, I could take this, and this, and we could, actually let's make this one a little bit shorter here, but I could select these and hit the repeat grid. Oh no, let's undo that. Because one thing I just looked at when my attention to detail, let's ungroup that grid, is this. Look at my frame. This shows me that this is sitting outside of this box, correct? So I'm going to ungroup it. If I highlight that, now I can just align that. There we go. And now I can go back and group this. Let's just make this one a little bit smaller here with the repeat grid, and then we just drag it. Okay, there's our repeat grid. And then if we want to add the spacing, if we want this one to be over to here, which we should, all we do is mouse over here. Look what happens once we mouse in between this. While it's still a repeat grid, we mouse over, it changes it to magenta. I can just click and I can just drag that over there. Look at that. Is that cool or what? And then we have our subscribe. So now we're set. So we would add our icons where they are appropriate. What about a Google map? Where do we get the Google map at? We need to have a Google map. So where do we get a Google map at? Where do we get these images here if we're doing a newsletter? Very simple. Let's go back into your web browser, whichever one you're using. You can go to Google and you can type in generic Google map royalty free. And you want, so if you go to tools and you go to the size, and we want a large size because you don't want a little icon. And I can download any of these. So I could download this one right here. Look at the size, 1300 pixels by 1037. So I can right click that. I can save the image as, you know, some of these like this one right here, you're gonna have to take this into Photoshop. Well, actually you want them all into Photoshop and and go back to optimize them. But this one right here, you'd have to cut, you'd have to cut some of this or crop this information on the bottom off of there. If you need a map for the United States, for example, for your quality travel, because you wanted to pinpoint the 3 tours where they originate, you could type in generic United States or generic Google United States map, royalty free. And then I can add that into my XD file. You can see where I've added my icon. So I've got our team right here. I've got my pin map location right here. I've got some other, here's my adopt a friend. So you can see where I've created this one right here. Here's my newsletter. So you can see where I've added my icons. What about our images right here that I need for this week? So if you all created a newsletter or this additional page that requires photos that were not supplied to you, where can you get those at? Here's a great site. Pexels.com is a great site. It's free, so I could type in pets. There we go. So I could just, once you click on that, right, it's a free download. I can just download it. And then of course, you would optimize it using that technique that we covered last week. Cool. Okay, now we have a question, or now we have an issue that we have to resolve here. That is, let me just go back to this one right here. And that is, we need to add our text, correct? We all have, we used placeholder text. And I have an alignment issue. Attention to detail. Always going back to look at this. Let's select those 2 and align those to the top. There we go. All right, so we need to get text in there. Would I open up the Word document and copy this text? So let's say, would I say, okay, general surgery, and I copy this, and I move over here, and I highlight it all, and I paste it. Would I do that? You could, but it's not time efficient. Let's put this drag and drop template into use for us, into play. If you go into your project, not only do you have the Word document, but you've also got these text documents. Okay, so let's just, for example, let's just move over here, and this is about the home page, right? You all have, there's a home page. There's text that's required for the home page. There's also home page text. Everyone has home page text, whether it is first choice, whether it is quality travel, or Red Canyon. There is home page text. Okay, so I'm going to go back into first choice, and let's do this. Let's take this homepage text. I'm going to select it. Whether you want to do it through Bridge or you want to do it through Finder, it works the same way. I just like Bridge, and this drag and drop works just as it did last week when we added imagery. We select it, we drag, look at that, and release. There's our text. It's done. Let's go to About Us. Is this cool or what? I love it. Let's go, let's use Bridge, and we have About Us right here. Here's our About Us text right here. Highlight, drag, and copy. And there's an issue here. So, Donta, the question is out of topic, but how did we pull up the Bridge when using XD? I had a hard time pulling it up. You have to go to your applications and and access bridge. So, and then what I would do is, let me just go to my applications here. Here's bridge. Bridge is going to be right here. Just launch bridge. Double click on that, and then you've got bridge launched. And what I would do is just dock it right down here in your dock. So you can go to options and keep in dock, and it's always going to be there for you. That answer your question? Okay, so we have about us text. Perfect. But look, okay, let's go back to attention to detail. We have an issue right here. I want you to look at this text frame. Notice how we have open circles here, but this one has a dot in the middle. What is that indicating to me? That's saying, hey, yeah, there's more text that's required. To fix that, I have to drag this down. There we go. And then I'm going to have to move this, of course. Not to say that this won't be changed next, when we start finalizing this, but that indicates that you have more text, kind of like the little red plus sign in Illustrator or InDesign that says, hey, you have more text than this frame can contain. Attention to detail. For text for your vet, if it says add, a vet's name, you put the vet's name, but if you want to just indicate some, a little descriptive text, you can use 1 or 2 lines of placeholder text if you want. Our team, I believe our team has text for this as well. Yeah, here's our team text. And again, we can just select that, and let's make this a little bit smaller. Actually, let's move this over here, and our team just goes right into there. There's our team. And again, if you want to use the Finder, you can go right ahead and do that too. So our team, it works the same, right? I just drag over that and release it. I mean, I'm a big bridge fan. There are some things right here though. There is an issue that services, one thing that you're gonna do on services, you can do a couple things here. Let's just see, if I have our services and I drag it over here, general surgery, but look what I have. Well, there's general surgery, but where'd the rest of the text go to? So it's not all coming through like it should. Problem solving, right? We have to solve the problem. I could just go back into my Word document, copy that, highlight that, and paste it. Okay, so that's how we get that in there. The same with the contact information. There is some contact information, I believe, that you're gonna have to replace that as well. And so in the first choice, whether newsletter is text at, okay, text, you're looking at, for text here, newsletter, this is what we're gonna do for the newsletter. So it could be placeholder text. Okay, so, but what could you do here? You could use placeholder text, and then maybe we do something like this. Read more. Maybe this is gonna be bold for now, so we can change this to bold. That indicates to the reader or the user that if they click on read more, they get the article in its entirety. So I could do the same thing here. And bold. Did that answer your question, Andrea? And I'd do the same here. I could just copy this. Read more. Whoops, not bold. No, let's just change that back to read more. And we'll make that bold. And the reason I copied it was because I had it set to bold right here. Okay, so that's taking care of that. What about, no, you don't have to come up. No, that's too much work. This indicates a newsletter. This indicates that there is a newsletter, correct? So don't add more work for yourself. Make this as simple as possible. That's what I'm doing for you. Okay, let's take the home page here. Okay, home page. We've got some issues here that need to be adjusted. We have to center align that. I want to center align that as well. But if I have all my text for the home page, let's just look at here. Let's go back into, let's go into our bridge and take our home page text and drag into here. There's an awful lot of text there, correct? I'm going to make this expand out to here. And so then the problem that happens is that you end up making this text so small that it's not readable. I can abbreviate your text. I only need something like this on there. That's it. Oops, I don't want that. So feel free to abbreviate your text. If you have, the same here, you could put the whole thing on your tablet. Let's use Finder here and see. So we have home. We're going to talk about bold, but you could use, the whole thing there. If you had newsletter and you wanted to put an introductory sentence on the newsletter, you could use placeholder text if you choose. This right here you could use the actual text, or you could do something like this. You can do this, right? Have the name and then learn more. The name, learn more. You're limited on space. You want to, you're having an adoption page here. You can just use some placeholder text. Make this easy. There is required text that you have to use. So that needs to be in place. So now let's go and look at the mobile phone. Right here. How do I get this and all these elements on here? How do I get those? What do I do? Do I create those from scratch? I'm going to jump back over into our working document right here. I'm going to move over to here. Everything's in place. Again, there is some attention to detail that needs to be corrected. I haven't put a place on here. It says forgot username and password. I would need to move this up closer so it's in proximity with this. I would put a line of type down here that says don't have an account, sign up. All these things would have been discussed or pointed out in the feedback that you received. But let's focus on this right here. Okay, so a couple of things. If you want, let me just jump over to here. This element, okay, see this interface, all these extra elements here, they're not required. I'm not going to knock you points for not having those, but it must be, if you don't want to make this as realistic as possible, it does need to be finished, as in, it has to be like this with, once we have color, but it'll have to indicate, that you have the top of this, a number of different things. All right. So you can't just, now I'm going to take that off and that's an unfinished interface. I am going to show you how to add those with just copy and paste. So let's look at how we finalize this, how I did anyways. If I come up here to File, and we've worked with IU kits or UI kits, but there's other ones that we haven't used. If you come into Get UI Kits and we go to, if this is an iPhone, and I'm going to go to Apple iOS, and that's going to bring me to another site here. And then I'm going to scroll down, and right under iOS, I'm going to download for XD. I click on that and it's going to download this DMG file. You can see it's right there. Once it's downloaded, all you're going to do from there is once it's downloaded, let me get to that first. All you would do would be to, let's just delete this. Or actually, yeah, let me delete this one here. All you would do is once it's downloaded, you double click on it, and then it opens up this window right here, and you just drag this folder into here. There's also going to be one for the Mac OS. You can download that one. And there it is right there. I'm not going to download again. Scrolling down, none of these are applicable. We're not doing a watch, anything like this. Okay, so now, once I've opened those up, the production templates, you're going to see these two folders. These are not anything you're going to want to use. But under the UI elements and design templates, there is a UI element for iPad and iPhone. Okay. If I come into here and I've got them opened up, since this is an iPhone, I'm going to find the UI elements for the iPhone. Okay, you're not going to be using all of these. Definitely, they're not all going to be applicable to you. You don't want any of these backgrounds in here. I am going to move into there's several. I don't want these here because I don't want all these tabs here. The one I want is the iPhone parent and child with toolbar. Okay, so I'm just going to click on this artboard. That's all there is to it. I copy it, Command or Control C, and then I'm going to shift over or move back over to my wireframe I'm using. Let's zoom out a little bit, and I will just paste that, and then I can just move it over here. Okay, so now let's delete this. I'm not going to need that. This information is going to need to be moved up. So of course it would have been moved up after I made my adjustments. This I'm going to turn off my grid. What I want to do for this is I don't want the word child view, but you look right here. Once I click on it, you can see right up here in the left-hand corner, there is a lock. It says it's locked. Everything's locked. You need to unlock it. Right click, unlock. Attention to detail. Okay, so now I can just move this into place. But I lost everything else. Okay, so let's undo that. Let's just undo this. We can select everything. Actually, let's go back into here. Let's just move this over. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to just move this over here. I'm gonna align that. That fits in perfect. I can take this. I'm gonna group it, and then I can move it over to here. And what I want it to do is send it to the back. So we can go Object, Arrange, and I can send to back. There we go. We can align it to the bottom of the page and to the left of the page, or the artboard. We don't need this. So this is locked. Let's see. Okay, let's just get rid of that. I'm sorry. I want this information. I can unlink the component. Let's get rid of that. That's the problem there. And now we can just move this into place. All right. I can kind of group that, and then it's easier to align for me. I can send it to the back. Actually, it's not over anything. So there, we have this. So watch, if I highlight this, hold my shift key down and highlight that, look, I've got these elements. I can then, if I group them, it brings this one to the top, which we don't want, but I can copy them, and now watch. Let's get rid of this. We've got some, look at this, some other attention to detail skills that I've got to make sure that these are not going to be interfering with this information here. The same goes for this. We'll just move this up here. But again, all these would have been corrected earlier. And now let's highlight this one, oops, attention to detail. Let's get rid of this. Let's highlight these 3 artboards. And then I'm holding my shift key down and then paste. And what do? We lost one of them. Okay, so let's go back and highlight this, copy it, not a big deal. We want that one on top anyways. Highlight, 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 and paste. There we go. There are some issues here. You can see some of this needs to be adjusted, correct? Some of this needs to be adjusted. We don't want this sitting on top of that. That's weakening proximity. So that doesn't really take that long. If it's not really a lengthy process to add this in there. Very simple to do. Any questions on the phone? If we want, let's move into the tablet. Okay, so the tablet, and then I'm just going to delete this. I don't want this in here because I don't want it's unnecessary. The tablet. Okay, so the tablet. That one I downloaded. Let's go into let's go back into here, and I downloaded the Mac iOS DMG, right? And whoops, wrong one. Actually, I will need this one. You'll need this one right here, the UI elements and design templates is not applicable, but you will need this one, the template glyph touch bar. You want to open that. But if we come back into this one right here, you can see that we have now the iPad. If you're using an iPad, the sticker sheet components is another one you can download. So if I come up into here, file, and I'm going to go to Microsoft Windows, I believe. And there's Adobe Toolkit. You can download there. I'm not sure if that has them, but it's something you can look at. And then let's go back into here and the Adobe Toolkit. So the sticker sheet components, and I have the template glyph touch bar. So let's just look at the template glyph touch bar. This template glyph touch bar has a lot of like elements you would use, right? Bookmarks that would be present on your tablet. If you want to go that route. If you don't, you still need to indicate that navigation menu up on top. Right, so if you wanted to add this type of information in there, then you have the tools to do that. You have the icons to do that. You don't have to create these. They're all there for you. If you want an interface for a tablet, that is going to be under the sticker sheet, or no, the template glyph touch bar. Nope, wrong one, my mistake. That's going to be the sticker sheet components. And for a PC, you have 2 different tablet sizes right here. You could add this, you could copy this. You have the desktop light and the dark. However, this would have to be modified. You'd want this removed. Some of this stuff has to be taken out of there. This, again, you have to modify it appropriately. I'm not going to need, I'm not going to need this information in there. Right, this right here, you could leave blank. That's really this area right up into here. So again, it depends on how finalized, as in, or how realistic do you want this to be? It's your call. However, it still needs to either show to be like this, or it must be finalized so it looks like this. Your website should have this information up here. This information does not go up here on a tablet, nor does it do that on a phone. Okay. If you want to add, so if we want to do something to this effect, like let's go back into this one right here. If I want to add any of this stuff right here, you don't have to add this if you don't want to, but if you want to add some of these, that's fine. I could change this. I've already got that in place, correct? So if I come back into here and all I do is what? Change this to gray. Here's our fill. We can just change the percentage of that to, 40%. There we go, maybe even 30%. We'll go back in and grab our template, and then you're going to want to just move that out of the way. You don't want to grab that, and then watch. I can just select that bookmark. Zoom in closer so it's easier to do if I zoom in closer, and I highlight it. I copy it. I then move over back into my working document. And then we're going to move over to this iPad here. I'm going to select this because I don't want it positioned anywhere else. And it's all white, correct? I want it black. I can change the fill over here to black. There we go. I definitely want to unlink this. This is not we don't want this to be a symbol, so we can right click and we can unlink the component. If we want this to be scaled proportionally, we're going to want to lock that. And then I can just move this into position. I can actually, let's make this a little bit smaller. And let's just kind of zoom in a little bit more. And I can move that into position. I want to make this a little bit smaller. We can move this up into here. I can highlight both of those and I can align this so it's horizontally aligned. I want to definitely attention to detail, remove this stroke off of there. So there's how we're going to add some of those other elements on there. So kind of cool, right? It doesn't it's up to you. However you want to finalize this, how realistic do you want it? That's your call. But it still needs to be as finalized as you can get that. If I wanted to add a password username on here, for example, this right here I could lock. If it keeps getting in the way, I could lock that. So object and lock. That kind of allows me now to kind of just grab that information there. But if I wanted to add, for example, if I wanted to add some other smaller information on here, such as, let's go to our wires mobile, and we go back up into here. So maybe something such as, I want to get, do we have a lock on here? Here's a little email icon I could add. If you need any social media icons, they're right here. You have to change those. If you need any other elements, such as these, a little hamburger menu, you can grab it from there as well. Here's my lock right there. So I could add those, and I could put those into here. Forgot username, password, log in, don't have an account, sign up. This, again, we've got just some attention to detail. So we want to move this down into here. But there are some of the elements I've talking about that you don't have to create. You've got them. They're there for you. And then tomorrow, as we get into tomorrow, we're going to add the color to this. We're going to create the character styles. So all of our text is consistent. We're going to create the symbols and apply those. So any questions on finalizing these devices? Easy to add the text, correct? That's pretty cool. Are you clear on text, what is required and what's not required, and what you can edit? So for example, here's my pet adoption. Okay, I'm not rewriting anything. I'm just adding some placeholder text, but you will be not document it. You will be formatting it. Again, placeholder text here. These are, you know, if I'm going to use all the text, I can. If not, I can just do the learn more for these because it's a small device. This one I would definitely want to add my text into this one. Right, definitely we want to do that, and we know what we can do with that. We can modify that text. That's my home page. So there we go. I don't need anything else other than this first sentence. That's it. So we have that. You want the real text here. This one knows how I just added the just a line of text that was placeholder text. Y'all know where to grab the placeholder text at, correct? We can definitely come back into here and add the home page text to here. We'll be talking about bold formatting on why we shouldn't be bold formatting all text as bold tomorrow. That affects visual hierarchy. Here is my read more. I did add some titles on here just to make it a little bit more realistic. You can still keep it article if you want to, but it should still be, you should still be defining the visual hierarchy. If I look at this, I can see that there is an attention to detail here. This isn't aligned correctly, so we need to align that. We've got some other alignment issues in here that would need to be addressed as well. So we're heading down the home stretch for this project. All right, with that being said, I do appreciate your time today. Tomorrow is at 10:45. It also says that in the weekly schedule. I do have a meeting that was unscheduled that I do need to attend. So we're moving it back from 9 o'clock to 10. It'll be 10:45, but it's also a shorter one. There is going to be a series of videos. I'm going to create a video for. We'll have short videos for the assets panel, which would include character styles, symbols, and color. They'll all be separate videos. We're going to do a video on the just the recording and how simple that is, as well as adding the interactivity. So I think there will be 5 different videos within that hour that we're going to create there. All right. Any questions? All right. Y'all have a great day.